I'm so thankful for that Netflix auto shut off or whatever. Like, it's just, are you still watching?
Really? I find it very shaming because it's like, yes, how dare you? Of course I'm still watching.
And you know how like they say that, dads when they're watching TV and you try to turn it off because they're asleep, they're
Yeah.
like, I was watching that.
No, sorry, you were definitely asleep during that episode of Burn Notice,
Welcome to Scary Mystery Surprise.
where we talk about scary things that surprised us around the internet.
I'm Edwin.
And I'm Michelle. Edwin, you're a 14-year-old boy.
Yay.
We are in England, 1943. So the war is on and rations are low. Bored, you and your 3 friends decide to go for a bit of poaching, or bird nesting, as this specific type of poaching was what you were going to go do.
Is that stealing eggs?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're going to go to the Hagley estate owned by Lord Cobham. Yes, this is trespassing. Yes, this is illegal. But also, it's something to do. You and your friends are strolling through the ancient English woods, laughing at old Cobham. What a silly old lord he is. It's a lovely day, the birds are chirping, and you spot an old wych elm tree. A spooky name for a European elm species. It has a long single trunk that looks like it might be hollow, and a tall, narrow crown. Also, I just want to clarify, it's spelled W-Y-C-H. They grow in northern Britain, in the northern British Isles, and can be found in Sweden and Norway. Thinking this would be a particularly good place to find birds' nests, you climb up to investigate. As you climb, you glance down in the hole of the trunk. Since it's hollow, you catch a glimpse of something that's white, like an eggshell. You reach in the tree. This is bigger and harder than an egg. You pull it out. It's a human skull. And this is a quote from the real boy that found it, by the way. There was a small patch of rotting flesh on the forehead with lank hair attached to it, and the 2 front teeth were crooked. The reality of the situation sinks in. You and your friends are on the Hagley estate illegally, trespassing. You guys are freaked out. So you carefully place the skull back where you found it, in the hollow of the tree of the wych elm, and you shimmy down the tree. All 4 of you sprint home, vowing never to mention a word to your parents.
What are the odds of that? Like,
right? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just some random kids on a big ass property that just randomly find
a skull.
A skull. It's pretty weird. But obviously, because you're Edwin, your conscience slowly gets the better of you. And you tell your parents. And the police are finally called.
Oh, no.
When the police check the trunk of the tree, they find an almost complete skeleton with a shoe, a fake gold wedding ring, some fragments of clothing. The skull was valuable evidence in that it still had tufts of hair and a clear dental pattern, despite some teeth that were missing. After further investigation, the remains of the hand were found some distance from the tree.
What? Okay.
Yeah. The body was sent for forensic investigation, and it was established that it was a female around 35 years old who'd been dead for at least 18 months, so her death probably would have occurred in October 1941. Also, they found taffeta in her mouth, suggesting that she had been suffocated.
Why a fake wedding ring? Like, how do you know it's fake, first of all? Like,
probably because it's not real gold. That's what they said on multiple articles.
What if you can't afford it?
What if you didn't want to wear your real gold ring because you were out and about doing something, or you needed to look married?
Because you knew you were going to die.
Who knows? From the measurement of the trunk of the tree, it was pretty clear that her body had been stuffed in there while it was still warm, because if rigor mortis had set in, she wouldn't have been able to fit. So someone had stuffed her in there while she was still warm.
So she was stuffed in a tree.
Yeah, she was stuffed in a tree. This woman was stuffed in a tree. Even with the distinctive dental impression, she had those 2 crooked front teeth, and being able to tell what she was wearing when she disappeared, because her clothes were pretty well intact, they checked all the reports of missing people in the region, couldn't find any that matched her, and the case eventually went cold, and was basically cold for a year. I mean, the war was on. Lots of people were reported missing during the war, too, which is, there was like, England was at war, it was being bombed. It was just a lot going on. So this case just slipped through the cracks. That's when it happened. About a year later, sprawled on the wall in the middle of town, written in chalk, "Who put Bella down the Wych Elm?" Since the 1970s, similar graffiti has sporadically appeared around the Hagley obelisk near where the woman's body was discovered. Was her name Bella? Rumors swirled in town that it had been scrawled by like the murderer or an ex-lover, or even like the boys, aka you, who had discovered her. Or was it the ghost of the woman Bella herself, keeping the murder from being forgotten?
So many questions here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is great because over the last 80 years, people have come back to this case periodically and they come up with new theories all the time. And so it's like, yeah, like there's always some new speculation on what happened to her and who she was because they've never found out.
If nobody knows who she is, that's what gets me. So she's probably not from there, not from the area. She's probably taken there and just dumped. Or maybe someone that was kept captive. And
ooh.
I don't know about the name Bella. I think I might have named a few things that I don't know what they are. I do that all the time. Sometimes with people, I'm just like, I just make up their name and then hope they correct me. I know it's a weird habit and really bad and disrespectful, but I've done it and intentionally.
He just calls me Suzanne for some reason. I just haven't had a chance to
just went with it.
Correct him on it.
But yeah, I think that might have been a made up thing. Bella might be just, but it sounds cool. Or the ghost wrote it herself.
Ooh, I like that. So one of the first theories is that it had to do with MI5 Nazi spies. There's an MI5 declassified file about Joseph Jacobs, the last man put to death at the Tower of London. A German spy parachuted into Cambridgeshire in 1941, but broke his ankle when landing, which is unfortunate. That's Spy 101, I think. You strengthen your ankles. And obviously he was soon arrested. So anyway, this guy, in his pocket, was found a photo of his lover, a German cabaret singer and actress named Clara Bowerly. Jacob said that she was being trained as a spy and that when he made contact, she might have been sent over to England after him. However, there is no evidence that Clara Bowerly parachuted into England at all, and several witnesses described that Clara Bowerly was actually 6 feet tall, while Bella, in the Wych Elm, was about 5 feet tall. Also, it was determined that Clara Bowerly had died in Berlin in 1942. In 1953, another theory surfaced that the victim was actually a Dutch woman named Clarabella Dronkers.
Another Clara?
Yeah, weird, right? And she had been killed by a German spy ring consisting of a British officer, a Dutchman, and a music hall artist for knowing too much, quote unquote. Although there's no available records or evidence to support this whatsoever.
It's just like,
it's just one of those theories where it's like, oh. Another theory, one possible victim was reported to the police in 1944 by a Birmingham sex worker. In the report, she stated that another sex worker called Bella, who'd worked on Hagley Road, had disappeared about 3 years previous. The name Bella or Luabella suggested that the graffiti writer was probably aware of the identity of the victim. So, possibly this missing woman. And then we start to get real weird. In 1953, this woman named Una Mosop basically was interviewed, and she said her ex-husband, Jack Mosop, had confessed to family members that he and a Dutchman called Van Ralt had put the woman in the tree. Mosop and Van Ralt met for a drink at the Littleton Arms, a pub in Hagley. Later that night, Mosop and the woman, who became Bella, became drunk and passed out while they were driving. Why were they driving with her in the car? Where were they going? What was going on? And then the men decided when she passed out to put her in the hollow of the tree in the woods in hopes that in the morning she would wake up and be frightened, seeing the error of her ways.
They're trying to teach her a lesson?
Yeah, for passing out drunk, which sounds so made up. Listeners, don't put anyone in a tree if they pass out. Do not. Listeners, Scary Mystery Surprise cares about you. And I'm also just telling you, don't put anyone in a tree. That's all.
It's not cool.
Jack Mossop was confined to the Stanford Medical Hospital because he kept having reoccurring dreams of a woman staring out at him from a tree.
Gosh, it's so creepy.
I know. And then he died in the hospital before the body was even found in the Wych Elm.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so who knows if it was him. But the likelihood of this being the correct explanation is questioned because, like, why did Una Mossop decide to come forward with this information like 10 years after Jack's death? You know? People just thought that was weird.
Trying to get some attention. I don't even understand confessions, honestly. Like when people say, yeah, I did it. Is it your conscience?
Yeah, I don't know. And then we get to your favorite.
Aliens. I'm just kidding.
Nope. Good old witchcraft. So in 1945, this woman named Margaret Murray, she was an anthropologist and an archaeologist at the University of London, proposed a more radical theory, witchcraft. Because she believed that the severing of one hand was consistent with a ritual called the Hand of Glory after the victim had been killed by the Romani people during an occult ritual. And so I had to look up what the Hand of Glory was because I was like, what the fuck is that? Which is funny because they make candles like this now. So the Hand of Glory is a dried, pickled hand of a hanged man, often specified as the left. It's supposed to be the Latin for sinister. Left is, and then the person that's hanged for the murderer, it's the hand that did the deed. That's what it's like looked as. So you take the hand that did the murder, the dominant hand, I'm assuming.
The left?
Whatever. The left or whatever. This is a spell. You're doing whatever you feel like. So anyway, you're basically, you use the hand to make a candle. And this candle, if you present it to someone, would render them motionless. So they wouldn't be able to move. The Hand of Glory could also unlock any door it came across. So that's what the Hand of Glory is supposed to do. Isn't that weird?
So cool.
Isn't that weird? So that's the Hand of Glory. And you'd have to take it from a hanged man and use his evil. And like sometimes you would use like their hair or whatever. And the wick of the candle would be the hangman's hair.
Have you ever burned hair? Oh, it smells.
No, but also I'm assuming just burning anything made of like human anything would smell. So, also, it's unclear if they used the hand to make a mold to make a candle or if they somehow shape the hand to burn like a candle. I'm not clear on that. You guys are going to have to Google it.
The name, it doesn't fit it. Hand of Glory doesn't fit. It's weird.
Sounds like it would be a better spell than what it is, honestly. It's like, oh, this will bring you all this prosperous whatever. Also, the police kind of suspect that it was animals that scattered the bones because she'd been there for like 18 months. But this idea of witchcraft really excited the local press and led investigators to consider another seemingly ritualistic, gruesome murder. There was another killing kind of in the area of this guy named Charles Walton in this village called Lower Quinton. And this murder's kind of famous because it was like bizarrely gruesome at the time because he had his throat cut and like also he was pinned to the ground through the neck with a pitchfork. The weird thing is people were like, oh, he was killed ritualistically because he's a witch. Also, Bella, short for belladonna, a really important plant in witchcraft. So, there's a lot of witchcraft ties here. It could go a lot of ways.
I like it.
A case review by the West Mercia police was closed in 2014. I think it was just ruled unsolved. And in 2018, a television program called Nazi Murder Mysteries You know, our favorite show, Nazi Murder Mysteries, basically had a forensic facial reconstruction created of her skull from the photographs of the skull. And it was commissioned by Andrew Spark, or Sparky, for his book, and hopes that like some person would have a photo in their attic and like recognize a family member. But this didn't happen. So this ended in a dead end. And the weird thing is that her body has disappeared and so has her case file. Granted,
What?
it is like an 80-year-old case.
It's in a museum. I'm pretty sure it's
well,
some type of...
in May 2003, the BBC launched an appeal to museums to track down the victims' remains to try and carry out DNA analysis. And they still haven't found them.
Some collector. Man, those guys are creepy. I'm telling you.
Yeah, someone's got it somewhere.
I would want something like that, honestly. I think that's
like,
my...
let's get the Wych Elm bones.
It would be so cool to have something, just a really haunted thing, or like something that's just very out there.
Anyway, the case has become one of Britain's greatest unsolved mysteries. And at this point, it's probably never going to be solved because it's like anybody who is actually involved in it is dead. The only hope they really have is DNA. So who put Bella in the Wych Elm graffiti still occasionally appears in Birmingham. You know, and it's probably written by pranksters or kids, but it could be Bella never letting us forget.
I like that. I like that second option.
I think Bella never letting us forget is solid. All right, we're starting a new segment. We're going to read your reviews and comments, and we'd love for you to call in. Edwin, how are we going to do that?
On the website, there's going to be a little button that says send an audio, scarymysterysurprise.com.
And you can do it on Instagram, too.
Yeah, you can send us an audio, like DM us. Nothing creepy, please. Michelle's usually the first line of defense here. And
I would prefer to not deal with creepy things, please.
Amanda K15. My family loves Scary Mystery Surprise. Edwin and Michelle are absolutely hilarious together, and we look forward to listening each week. My 11-year-old daughter actually discovered Edwin on her own, and we have listened to every episode of his other podcast. Thanks. Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
When we listened to SMS, we instantly found a favorite. Thank you, Edwin and Michelle, for working so hard on all your podcasts and keeping us entertained. We truly feel like you are our besties. Hope you read this.
Aww.
And we did. We read it out loud. Send in your comments, you guys, reviews, DMs. We're going to start reading them here live.
Yeah, and we're going to, and if you leave a message on our website or on our Instagram, we'll play it on the air. And then we'll answer your questions.
ScaryMysterySurprise.com or on our Instagram at Scary Mystery Surprise.
I think on that note, you guys should join the club at ScaryMysteryClub.com.
Cool.
What are we going to talk about next week, Edwin?
I don't know. Think it'll be a surprise.
Scary Mystery Surprise is hosted by Michelle Newman and
Edwin Covarrubias. This podcast was edited and sound designed by Sarah Vorhees Wendel of VW Sound.